Hola amigos de Redtox, ¿cómo están? Estamos en la sección de entrevista al experto con inspector Redtox y el día de hoy nos acompaña una eminencia en extracción de venenos, todo esto para investigación y que se pueden hacer los antídotos, pero queremos saber cómo se hace ese trabajo, qué precauciones hay que tener, cómo fue que se enamoró de ese trabajo. Entonces, para eso está aquí con nosotros el biólogo Doug Hotle. Doug, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
When did you start working with venomous snakes?
I started very young. I started in the animal business, working with exotic animals when I was about 15 years old.
Wow, very young.
Yeah, a little over 30 years. And the venomous reptiles just kind of came with the territory as I worked with primates and large mammals and so forth. I've always had a fascination for the reptiles and all reptiles. And I always say that I don't love certain snakes because they're venomous. I love all snakes, just some of them happen to be venomous. So they just kind of come with the territory.
Okay, we know that you have been working with venom extractions. For what purpose?
Biomedical research. I worked with the NTRC, the Natural Toxins Research Center at Texas A&M University, and they're the largest federally funded venom research company in the United States. Okay. And they are doing biomedical research. How do these venoms, how can we apply them towards life-saving medications for heart attack, stroke, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's? There's a whole list of things that snake venoms can potentially help us with. So I was doing snake extractions for that purpose. I was kind of the guy on the other end of the snake where they do all the test tubes and different equipment. Not so interesting to me. I like the snakes.
So do you manage the snakes to do the extraction, or somebody help you?
Normally, if you handle a venomous snake, I always like to say you have two people in case of an accident. Accidents do happen. In the venom extraction laboratory, we always had two people on hand. I personally prefer to handle them by myself without help. That way I know what's going on. I don't have to worry about the snake and somebody else. I can just worry about what I'm doing and with the snake. But I always have somebody there right next to me when we do these, because this is a very dangerous procedure.
And which snakes do you use for doing the extraction? Biddies, rattlesnakes, Ekis, I don't know.
Everything.
Everything?
Yes, everything from the elapids, the different cobras and the mambas, a lot of different rattlesnakes, but literally any snake we can get our hands on, we want to find out what that venom's about, and we'll do the extraction with those. So one of the snakes that we got to work on a few years back was the Bidis parviocula, the Ethiopian mountain viper. And we didn't know anything about that venom. We didn't know, is it characteristic on par with other Bidis, puff adders, gaboon vipers, and can we use the same anti-venom, the South African polyvalent? Will that work on the bites? We didn't know any of this. We were fortunate enough to get our hands on some venom and answer a lot of those questions.
Wow, and have you been bitten by a snake?
Unfortunately, I've been bitten. I've been bitten a lot. I've been hospitalized 6 times for a snake bite. But this is over a 30-year period, and hundreds of thousands of interactions with these snakes. Most of these bites occurred in the venom laboratory doing extractions. And once you have your hands on 200, 300 snakes a day, every day,
oh my God.
Occasionally the snake wins. So it can be a very dangerous occupation to be in. Fortunately, I still have all of my fingers. And,
yes, you can move all your
exactly.
Your fingers.
Exactly. But I've had some very nasty bites over those years. And only one in the field from a Crotalus horridus when I did venom research, or did population research on those rattlesnakes in southern Indiana in the United States. I took one bite out in the field.
And how did you feel? So is that terrible as people say?
It can be. It can be anything from a mild bite that feels like a bee sting, a wasp sting, on up to a very severe envenomation. The only thing I can compare it to is maybe if you were to light your hand on fire.
Oh my God.
And then try to put it out with a hammer. And that is about what it feels like. It can be a lot of these snake venoms, a lot of the hemotoxic and myotoxic will excite the nerve endings, and it can make for a very painful bite, and something that you're in for a long night when you get bit by one of these. So don't recommend it. Don't recommend it.
So vipers or elapids, which venom is worse, or which venom can help more for medicines to help people?
Well, both, realistically. The way we look at snake venoms is we don't look at just the venom in its entirety. We look at the different proteins, and we look for unique little proteins in that venom that can do a certain thing for us. And the neat thing about snakes is they all have different venoms. Even the pit vipers, even the rattlesnakes, even rattlesnakes within that are siblings can have a little bit different venom. So we start to look at these, and the way I calculate, or the way I talk about venom is, if it comes straight out of the snake and into you, it's a very bad thing.
Okay.
So think of it as all these hundreds and hundreds of proteins doing very nasty things all at once. They're all working together. So it's like an army. And the army is invading. And the army's job when it invades is to go in and do as much damage as possible to take out the enemy. That's what happens with snake venom. But just the same as in an army, you have your specialist. You have your, maybe a person who goes in and disrupts communication, or a person who goes in and takes out bridges that are needed for the enemy, or a person that goes in and does this. Those are the proteins that we're looking for. The ones that kind of go off all by themselves and can do something very unique. And we can look at those venoms, and with some elapid venoms, mamba venoms, for instance, many of their venoms work on potassium-fired ions in the brain. Mm-hmm. If we can just isolate those proteins that go after those potassium-fired ions, we may have a cure for Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or something. In the case of your pit vipers, we know that there are anticoagulants in the blood. They make great blood thinners. So we really look for those. We try to strip away the rest of the army and look for those little specialists that can do what we need them to do. And maybe the protein itself does not do something, but maybe it is channeled to go to a certain area of the brain or a certain area of the body. Can we attach a medication to that protein and let that protein carry it through the body? So it's amazing when you start to look at these animals and these proteins about what they can do. It's just endless. And the more that our state-of-the-art laboratory equipment becomes more sensitive, the more things we can do and the more things we discover. It is like looking at the universe. You can see all of this, but with a big microscope, you can even see further. So it's unreal the things that we may be able to find in snake venoms.
Wow, so venom is not just for feel fear from snakes, right? So we can be saved also by venom.
Yes, venoms can, and they do save a lot of lives every year. We look at antivenoms. Naturally comes from snake venom. It's a different process, but we already have a lot of medical procedures and a lot of medications that are already in production that we've learned from snake venoms. A lot of the ACE inhibitors, the blood pressure medications and such, were derived from snake venoms. Some of our best, we're looking at cures, potential cures for things like breast cancer, from copperhead venoms, because they have a protein that doesn't kill the cancer cell, but if you understand cancer cells, they kill by spreading and multiplying. And what the snake protein does is it stops them from spreading and multiplying. So if we can stop the spread of cancer, our chemotherapy can work better, and our medications that we have on hand now can work a lot better. So snake venom, yes, coming straight out of the snake can be very dangerous. But once we get into a laboratory and start to break it apart, that's when we find some pretty cool stuff going on with them. So you shouldn't fear the snake venom. It can be our friend as well.
Wow. Thank you very much for the interview. And just other question, which snake is your favorite and why?
That is like asking who your favorite child is.
No, I don't have child.
Well, I like them all, and I will argue whatever snake is in front of me at the moment is my favorite one, because I get excited like a little child from all of them. But the one I've kind of grown the most attached to, in the wrong way at one time, but is the timber rattlesnake from North America, from the United States, the Crotalus horridus. And I spent 7 years researching that in the field and radio tracking and doing a lot of work with the population studies with that. I also have my worst bite from a rattlesnake with that same species doing the research. But having learned so much about that animal, I would have to say that's probably my favorite. But if you put me in a room full of other snakes, I'll deny it. I'll say they're all my favorite.
Okay. Thank you very much for the interview. Is there something you want to tell to our fans?
I learn as much as you can about snakes and snake venoms. Educate yourself, and keep coming back to this website because there is a lot of good information, and you can learn everything you want to know and more.
Thank you very much for being with us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.